I woke up on a twin bed in a room I'd never seen before. Stone walls, barred window, no door handle. My head pounded with chemicals I didn't recognize. How long had I been unconscious? Where was I? Then I remembered. The family meeting. My refusal to stay silent. Preston's hand on my wrist. The sharp pain in my neck. If this story resonates with you, please leave a red heart in the comments. Let me start from the beginning. My name is Jenna Caldwell-Hartley, and I'm a public health inspector for the state of New Jersey. 15 years I'd spent walking into restaurant kitchens, clipboard in hand, thermometer ready, checking temperatures and sanitation protocols. 15 years of protecting people from food poisoning, from carelessness, from shortcuts that could end lives. It wasn't glamorous work. Most people never thought about the inspector who made sure their dinner wouldn't send them to the emergency room. But it mattered. People's health is not negotiable. That was my motto, printed on a card I kept in my wallet. I met Preston Hartley 3 years before all this started, at a charity gala where his family's catering company was serving. Hartley and Sons Catering, established 1952, the kind of operation that catered to governors and celebrities. The company that charged $500 per head and never lacked for clients. Preston was charming in a way his family wasn't. Less polished, more genuine. Or so I thought. He said he loved that I was passionate about my work. That I wasn't impressed by money or status. When he proposed on a rainy November evening, he said, "I love that you'll never change. Promise me you'll always be exactly who you are." I should have paid more attention to that last part. December 2024. That's when everything fell apart. Preston's family was preparing for an IPO, planning to take their catering empire public with a $75 million valuation. Every weekend, I'd sit at their dining table, mahogany, massive, the kind of table that seats 20, and listen to them plan their fortune. His mother Connie, 68 and sharp as a knife, would hold court at the head of the table. "Once we're public," she'd say, swirling wine in crystal that probably cost more than my monthly salary, "we'll finally have the recognition we deserve. 70 years of service to this state, and now the financial world will acknowledge it." His brother Roger, the CEO at 45, ran numbers constantly. Conservative estimates put my shares at $22 million. After taxes, liquid assets of $13.5 million minimum. His sister Faye, the CFO at 40, had already picked out a vacation home in the Hamptons, shown us photos on her phone. 4 bedrooms, ocean view, available the day after the IPO closes. Preston said little during these dinners, but his eyes gleamed with the same hunger I saw in theirs. I kept quiet, pushing pasta around my plate while they planned their empire. I had my own salary, $68,000 a year, enough to pay my share of the household expenses Preston and I had agreed on. I didn't need their money. I didn't want it. What I wanted was to do my job well, to go home at night, knowing I'd protected someone from getting sick, from ending up hospitalized because a restaurant owner cut corners. Simple, clean, honest work. The kind of work that didn't translate to millions in stock options, but it was mine. December 10th, 5 days before everything changed. Connie insisted we all attend a pre-IPO celebration dinner at the estate. Family only, she'd said, though I'd never quite felt included in that definition. The dining room glowed with candlelight. Connie had hired servers, not from Hartley and Sons, interestingly, and the meal was elaborate. Roger stood to make a toast. To September 15th, 2025. The day Hartley and Sons becomes Hartley and Sons, Inc. The day we prove that tradition and excellence still matter in this world. Everyone raised their glasses. I lifted mine but didn't drink. Connie turned to me. "You're so quiet tonight, Jenna. Surely you must be excited. Preston will be worth quite a bit after this." "I'm happy for all of you," I said, which wasn't quite a lie. "You won't have to work anymore," Faye added. "You could finally relax, enjoy life." The implication hung there. That my job was a burden, something to escape from. "I like my job," I said. "I'm not planning to quit." The table went quiet for just a moment, then Connie laughed. "Of course, dear. Whatever makes you happy." But her eyes said something different. They said I didn't understand, that I was playing in the minor leagues while they prepared for the majors. I excused myself early, claimed a headache. Preston found me in our bedroom later. You could have tried harder, he said. Tried harder at what? At being part of this. This is the biggest thing that's ever happened to my family. I was there. I smiled. What else do you want? He sat on the edge of the bed, ran his hands through his hair. I just want you to be happy for us. For me. I am happy for you, Preston. I just don't think money changes anything important. He looked at me like I'd spoken a foreign language. Money changes everything, he said. December 15th. The night that changed everything. A high-end charity dinner at the Riverside Hotel, 300 guests, politicians and donors in black tie and diamonds. Preston had asked me to come as his date, and I'd agreed, wearing a simple navy dress I'd bought on sale 3 years ago. The catering was Hartley & Sons, naturally. I watched the servers move through the crowd with practiced efficiency, white gloves and blank faces, the kind of invisible service the wealthy expect. I wasn't there to inspect. I was off duty, trying to be a supportive wife, trying to fit into Preston's world for one night. The ballroom was beautiful. Chandeliers, ice sculptures, a string quartet in the corner. I felt out of place in a way I couldn't quite name, like everyone could see I didn't belong in rooms like this. Preston introduced me to people whose names I immediately forgot. Senators and CEOs who shook my hand with the same polite disinterest you'd show a stranger's pet. Around 8 p.m., I needed the restroom. The route took me down a side hallway, past the kitchen service area. That's when I saw it. The kitchen door was propped open with a milk crate, health code violation number 1. Through the gap, I could see the prep line. Stainless steel counters, white-coated workers moving fast. Too fast. A young man, maybe 20, no gloves on his hands. He was handling raw chicken breasts, pink and slick, transferring them from a refrigerator to the prep counter. His hands were wet. I could see the chicken juice glistening on his palms. He wiped them on his apron, once, quick, and reached for another tray. Not chicken. Canapes. Salmon mousse on toast points. Already plated, ready to serve. No gloves, no hand washing in between. Direct cross-contamination in real time. My stomach dropped. I stepped closer, pretending to check my phone. The refrigerator closest to me had a temperature gauge visible through the glass door. Digital display, red numbers. 48 degrees Fahrenheit. 3 degrees above the safe zone. 3 degrees into the danger zone, where bacteria multiply exponentially. On the floor near the dish station, a piece of raw meat sat in a puddle of something. Water, blood, I couldn't tell. 2 workers stepped over it without a glance, like it had been there for hours. This wasn't a minor slip. This wasn't one busy night's chaos. This was systematic negligence, the kind of operation that ran like this every day. Food code violations that could trigger an outbreak, that could send people to the hospital, that could end lives. I thought about the 300 guests in that ballroom, trusting that their food was safe, trusting that someone was protecting them, that someone was supposed to be me. I found Preston near the bar, champagne in hand, laughing with a state senator. I pulled him aside, kept my voice low and even. We need to talk, now. In the car on the way home, I told him what I'd seen. Preston's knuckles went white on the steering wheel. You're sure? I'm a health inspector, Preston. I know what I saw. Temperature abuse, cross-contamination, no proper sanitation protocols. This is serious. People could get sick. He was quiet for a long moment, the lights of the highway sliding across his face. What are you going to do? I looked at him, this man I'd married, who'd promised to support my work. I have to report it. You know I do. This is my job. Jenna. His voice cracked. The IPO is in 9 months. If you report this now, everything falls apart. If I don't report this, and someone ends up in the hospital, that's on me. I took an oath. Can't you just look the other way? Just this once? For me? The question hung between us like smoke. I thought about all the times I'd told restaurant owners that there were no exceptions, that public health didn't negotiate. I thought about the inspector's badge in my purse, the 15 years I'd spent building a reputation for fairness and integrity. No, I said. I can't. Preston pulled into the driveway of his family's estate, the mansion where we all lived now, separate wings like some kind of compound. Big enough for everyone to have their own space, they'd said. Like that was normal. I'd kept my apartment in Newark for the first year of our marriage, only moving in when Preston begged me, when he said it would mean so much to his mother. Now I wished I'd trusted that instinct to keep my own place. Let me talk to them first, Preston said, his voice quiet. Before you file anything official, give them a chance to fix it. I hesitated. It wasn't protocol. I should call it in immediately. But he was my husband. 24 hours, I said. Then I'm reporting it, whether they fix it or not. The family meeting happened the next morning in the formal dining room, 9 a.m., and they were all there waiting, like they'd been up planning since Preston called them. Connie sat at the head of the table, dressed like she was going to a board meeting. Roger and Faye flanked her, laptops open, already in work mode. Preston sat beside me, but the space between us felt like miles. Jenna, Connie began, her voice honey over steel, Preston tells us you have concerns about our operation. I witnessed multiple serious health code violations at last night's event. Cross-contamination, temperature abuse, sanitation failures. This isn't minor. This could cause a foodborne illness outbreak. Roger leaned forward, his CEO face on. One event. One busy night. You can't judge our entire operation based on one observation. I can, when those violations could send people to the emergency room. This isn't about judgment. This is about public safety. Faye's fingers drummed on the table, her calculator mind already running numbers. Do you understand what you're proposing? We're weeks away from final IPO approval. Any regulatory flag could tank the entire deal. $75 million? Gone. Then you should have maintained proper standards from the beginning, I said. Connie's smile didn't waver, but her eyes went flat. You're not thinking clearly, dear. The stress of the wedding, of adjusting to this family, of living here. It's understandable that you're confused about what you saw. The words landed like a slap. I'm not confused. I'm a trained professional with 15 years of experience. I know exactly what I saw. A trained professional, Roger repeated, his voice cold, who's trying to destroy her own family's livelihood over what amounts to minor procedural issues. Minor? Food poisoning isn't minor. Salmonella outbreaks aren't minor. People going to the hospital isn't minor. You're being hysterical, Faye said, and I felt rage spike hot in my chest. I'm being professional. There's a difference. Connie stood, smoothed her skirt with deliberate calm. Jenna, I think you need to consider what you're really doing here. You're about to cost 400 people their jobs. You're about to destroy a company that served this state for 70 years. Is that really what you want? What I want, I said, standing to match her, is for your company to follow basic food safety regulations. What I want is for you to not poison people. You're not one of us, she said, and her voice was ice. You never have been. Preston brought you into this family, but you've always held yourself apart, always acted like you're better than us. This has nothing to do with family. This is about law. This is about health codes. This is about doing the right thing. Preston's hand found mine under the table. His palm was sweating. Jenna, he said softly, maybe we should take a few days to think about this. You've been working so hard, and... I pulled my hand away and looked at him. Really looked at him. I saw it then. The way he wouldn't meet my eyes. The way his shoulders curved inward. He'd already chosen. Don't, I said. I stood up, my chair scraping loud in the quiet. I'm calling the health department tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I'm giving you tonight to voluntarily shut down and request an inspection. That's more than I'd give anyone else. That's me trying to be fair to you, because you're my husband's family. I turned to leave. I made it 3 steps toward the door. Preston caught my arm, fingers tight on my wrist. I'm sorry, he whispered. Then something pricked my neck, sharp and burning. The room tilted. Connie's face swam in my vision. We're protecting you, dear, she said, and her voice sounded like it was coming from underwater. From yourself. Everything went dark. I woke up on a twin bed in a room I'd never seen before. Stone walls, cold and damp. One small window near the ceiling, barred, letting in a square of gray light. A heavy wooden door, with no handle on the inside, just smooth metal where a knob should be. The air tasted like mold and old wine. My head pounded, a chemical throb that meant sedatives. I tried to stand and the room spun. I grabbed the wall to steady myself, felt the rough stone under my palms. Where was I? The bed beneath me was narrow, institutional, the kind you'd find in a college dorm. A small sink in the corner. A toilet with no privacy. A table and chair bolted to the floor. This was a cell. They'd put me in a cell. I don't know how long I sat there, trying to make sense of it. Time felt strange, stretched and compressed all at once. Eventually, the door opened. Preston walked in carrying a tray like this was a normal breakfast. Eggs, toast, orange juice in a plastic cup. Where am I? My voice came out hoarse, like I'd been screaming. Maybe I had been. The old wine cellar. We converted it after Dad passed away 5 years ago. Soundproof, private. He set the tray on the small table, wouldn't meet my eyes. You can't do this. This is illegal. This is kidnapping. We're protecting you, he said, and I heard his mother's words in his mouth, the same phrasing, the same tone. You are going to make a terrible mistake, one that would destroy everything this family has built over 70 years. We're keeping you safe until you calm down, until you can think clearly. Safe? You locked me in a basement. Until the IPO is complete, September 15th, 8 months. Then we can talk about getting you the help you need. Help, like I was the one who needed it, like I was the problem. My job? I said, my mind racing. People will ask questions when I don't show up for work. Already handled. I called your supervisor yesterday. Told him you've been suffering from severe anxiety and depression, that you're taking medical leave to get treatment. He was very understanding. Sent his best wishes for your recovery. The efficiency of it chilled me more than the stone walls. They'd planned this. Every detail. You won't get away with this. Preston finally looked at me, and his eyes were hollow, empty of everything I'd thought I loved. We already have, he said, and left. The lock clicked. Heavy. Final. I was alone. For the first 3 days, I did nothing but cry and rage and throw things at the door, until my hands bled and my voice gave out completely. I screamed until my throat was raw, until I couldn't make sound anymore, but the soundproofing worked perfectly. No one came except Preston, once on day 2, once on day 3, bringing food and taking away the old trays. He wouldn't talk to me, wouldn't meet my eyes, just left the supplies and locked the door again. By day 4, the screaming was over. My voice was gone. My hands were bruised. I lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling, and tried to understand how I'd ended up here. I kept thinking about Preston's proposal, the rain, the way he'd promised I'd never have to change. Had he meant it? Or had it always been a lie? Day 7. A week in this basement. I was sitting at the small table, staring at nothing, when I noticed the shelf near the sink. There was something there, tucked behind a stack of towels. I stood, still dizzy from whatever they'd used to sedate me, and reached up. A notebook. Black and white composition book, the kind kids use in school. I opened it. Blank pages. Lined. Maybe 100 of them? A pen tucked into the spiral binding. Why was this here? Had Preston left it by accident? Had someone else? I sat back down and stared at the notebook for a long time. Then I remembered who I was. I was a health inspector. Documentation was what I did. 15 years of writing up violations, noting specific times and temperatures and procedures. 15 years of creating evidence that could hold up in court, that could shut down restaurants, that could protect people. They'd given me 8 months. I'd use every single day. I opened the notebook to the first page and wrote, Day 1, December 17th, 2024. Preston Hartley and his family, Constance Hartley, Roger Hartley, Faye Hartley Dixon, have imprisoned me in a basement room against my will. This follows my stated intent to report multiple serious food safety violations at their company, Hartley & Sons Catering, Violations witnessed December 15, 2024, charity dinner event, Riverside Hotel, approximately 7:30 p.m. Then I started listing everything I remembered. The temperature gauge reading, 48 degrees Fahrenheit, 3 degrees above safe storage temperature. The worker's name tag, 1. Young, maybe early 20s. The exact sequence I'd witnessed, raw chicken, hand wipe on apron, reach for plated canapes. The meat on the floor, the puddle around it, how the workers stepped over it without concern. The kitchen door propped open, violation of temperature control protocols. Every detail my trained memory had captured, I wrote down. Food code 3-501.16, temperature control for safety. Cold foods must be maintained at 41 degrees Fahrenheit or below. Food code 2-301.11, hand washing requirements. Food employees must wash hands before beginning food preparation. Food code 6-501.12, premises must be kept clean and free of litter and items not necessary for operation. I didn't need to look these up. I'd cited them hundreds of times. By day 10, I'd filled 30 pages. Not just about the violations, but about everything. Preston's visits. His exact words each time. This is for your own good. You're not thinking clearly. We're protecting you. The meals they brought, the timing of it. Breakfast at 7 a.m., dinner at 6 p.m. No lunch. Just 2 meals a day, enough to keep me alive. I documented my physical symptoms. Headaches from the sedative. Dizziness that lasted 5 days. Bruises on my hands from beating the door. I wrote down the date of the IPO, September 15, 2025. The prize they were willing to commit felonies to protect. By day 30, I'd filled 60 pages and started a second notebook I found in the bathroom cabinet. Someone's old journal, abandoned years ago. Preston came that day, and I was ready. I'd learned to read him in the 3 years we'd been married, and now I studied him like evidence. How's the company doing? I asked, keeping my voice level, conversational. He looked surprised that I was speaking calmly, that I wasn't screaming or crying. Good, really good. The IPO approval is moving forward right on schedule. That must be a relief. It is. He hesitated at the door. I miss you, Jenna. The real you. The real me is a health inspector who reports violations. That hasn't changed. That's never going to change. His face closed off. He left without another word. I wrote it all down. Date, time, exact dialogue, his facial expressions, the way his hand trembled slightly on the door handle. Evidence. Everything was evidence. Day 60, 2 months in. Preston visited again, right on schedule. Every 3 days, like clockwork. The final documents for the IPO went through, he said, setting down my dinner tray. Roger says we're ahead of schedule. We might even go public early. Congratulations, I said. Jenna, He trailed off, looked at me like he was seeing someone he didn't recognize. This will be over soon, I promise. What will be over? My imprisonment? Or your conscience? He flinched. Good. After the IPO, we'll get you help. Real help. Therapy, medication if you need it. We can work through this. I smiled, and I could see it unsettled him. I don't need therapy, Preston. I need a lawyer. But you already know that. After he left, I wrote for an hour straight. His promises. His lies. The way he'd convinced himself this was justified. I was on my 3rd notebook now. The evidence kept growing, page after page. Day 90. 3 months. The window near the ceiling showed me the seasons changing. Winter light giving way to something softer. Spring, maybe, though I couldn't see enough sky to be sure. I developed a routine. Wake up at dawn when the light first appeared. Exercise, push-ups, sit-ups, walking in circles in the tiny space. Eat breakfast, write. Think. Remember every detail of the violations I'd witnessed. I could recall that kitchen perfectly now. I'd spent hours visualizing it, burning every detail into memory. The layout of the prep stations, the positions of the refrigerators, the color of the floor tiles where the raw meat had sat in its puddle. If I ever got out, When I got out, I'd be able to testify to every single thing I'd seen. Day 120. 4 months in. The door opened, and it wasn't Preston. Connie walked in, elegant even in the basement gloom, wearing a cream-colored suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary. "I thought we'd have a chat," she said, settling into the chair like she was hosting tea. Woman to woman. "About what?" "About your place in this family. Or rather, your lack of one." Her smile was kind, sympathetic even, which made the words cut deeper. "You never quite fit, did you? Preston tried his best, brought you into our world, introduced you to the right people. But you always held yourself apart, always acted like you were better than us." "I never—" "You did, dear, always. The way you looked at us during family dinners, like we were beneath you somehow. The way you talked about your little job like it mattered more than what we'd built. My job does matter. I protect people." "From what? Minor health code technicalities?" "Please." Connie leaned forward. "Let me tell you what really matters. This company employs 400 people. 400 families depend on Hartley & Sons for their livelihoods. Your little crusade would have destroyed all of that. Those violations could have caused an outbreak. People could have been hospitalized. Some could have passed away. Could have. Might have. But they didn't. We've been operating that way for years, Jenna, and no one's gotten sick. Not once. That you know of. That anyone knows of." She stood, smoothed her skirt with deliberate calm. "You're not a martyr, dear. You're just self-righteous. And stubborn. This whole situation could have been avoided if you'd just been reasonable." "Reasonable? You locked me in a basement. We're protecting our family. Sometimes that requires difficult choices." After she left, I wrote for 3 hours straight, my hand cramping, ink smearing. Every word she'd said. Every implication, every threat, disguised as concern. The way she'd tried to reframe my imprisonment as protection, the violations as technicalities. Gaslighting. Textbook gaslighting, and I was documenting every second of it. Day 150, 5 months. I'd started a 4th notebook. The pages were filling fast. I wrote everything now. Not just the facts, but my thoughts, my anger, my determination. They think I'll break. They think 8 months of isolation will make me compliant, will make me forget what I saw, will make me agree that I was wrong. They don't understand who they're dealing with. I'm not a society wife who can be molded. I'm not someone who values money over integrity. I'm a health inspector. I've shut down restaurants owned by people I liked. I've filed reports that cost people their businesses. I've never once looked the other way, not in 15 years. They think I'll change? They're wrong. Preston came that day with food and stayed longer than usual. "Mom says she talked to you," he said. "She tried to convince me that you're the victims here." It didn't work. "Jenna, please. Just think about what she said. The IPO is in 4 months. After that, you'll be free. We'll get you help, get you back to normal, and this will all be behind us." "I'll never be normal again, Preston. You made sure of that when you drugged me and locked me in a basement." "We had no choice." "You always had a choice. You chose your family's money over your wife. You chose $75 million over doing the right thing." He stood there, silent, and for a moment, I thought I saw guilt flash across his face. Then it was gone, replaced by the blank mask he'd been wearing for months. "I'll see you in a few days," he said, and left. I added it to the notebooks. Every word, every silence, every moment of almost humanity that he couldn't quite sustain. Day 180. 6 months. Halfway through my sentence, though I had no guarantee they'd actually release me in September. What if the IPO succeeded and I was still a liability? What if they decided it was safer to keep me here forever? The thought should have terrified me, but instead it made me angry. I wrote faster, documenting faster, remembering more. I started adding legal analysis to my notebooks. False imprisonment, the unlawful restraint of a person against their will, New Jersey Statute 2, C, 13-3. Conspiracy, agreement between 2 or more persons to commit a crime. In this case, all 4 family members were involved. Obstruction of justice, preventing a public official from performing their duties. I was a state health inspector. They'd prevented me from filing my report. If I could prove all of this, when I proved all of this, they'd face serious charges. Criminal charges, not just regulatory fines. The thought sustained me through the long, empty days. Day 210, 7 months in. Preston visited with news and something that looked almost like hope in his eyes. The IPO date is confirmed, September 15th. Roger's already talking to brokers about selling shares immediately after. Good for Roger. Jenna, listen. After that day, this is over. We'll let you out. We'll get you the help you need. We can start over, rebuild our marriage. I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time in months. Did he actually believe this? Did he really think we could come back from this? Start over? I said. Preston, you drugged me. You locked me in a basement for 7 months. You told my employer I was mentally ill. You participated in a felony. I was protecting my family. I was your family. I was your wife. And you chose them. I chose all of you. I was trying to find a way to protect everyone. By imprisoning me. He stood, agitated, running his hands through his hair the way he always did when stressed. What was I supposed to do? Let you destroy everything? Let you take away my family's legacy, their future, 400 people's jobs? You were supposed to tell them to follow the law? You were supposed to support your wife when she tried to do her job? You were supposed to be on my side. I am on your side. That's why I'm here. Making sure you're okay. Making sure. Get out. Jenna? Get out. He left, and I wrote it all down. The way he tried to reframe this, to make himself the hero trying to protect everyone. The way he'd convinced himself that imprisoning me was an act of love. 5 notebooks now, hundreds of pages, every conversation, every meal, every moment of the last 210 days. Day 230, less than 2 weeks until September. Maria came down with fresh linens, moving quickly like she always did. She was in her 50s, quiet, efficient, the kind of person who'd worked for wealthy families her whole life and knew how to be invisible. But I'd been watching her for months. I'd seen the guilt in her eyes every time she looked at me. Maria, I said as she placed the towels on the shelf, please, I know you know this is wrong. She froze, her back to me. For a long moment, I thought she'd pretend she hadn't heard. Then, I can't. They'll fire me. I have 3 kids to feed. I'm not asking you to let me out. I just need you to leave the door unlocked. One time. That's all. Her hands trembled on the towels. September is almost here. Mr. Preston says after the IPO, you'll be free. Can't you just wait? What if they don't let me out? What if September comes and they decide it's safer to keep me here permanently? What if? I paused, let the question hang. What if I'm not the first person they've put down here? Maria turned then, and her eyes were wet. I'll think about it, she whispered, and hurried out. It was more than I'd hoped for. Day 242, August 27th. Tomorrow was my last chance. I could feel it. The IPO was in 19 days. After that, I'd become a problem they couldn't solve by releasing me. I knew too much now, not just about the health violations, but about their willingness to commit felonies to protect their wealth. If they were smart, and they were, they'd never let me go. I'd become too dangerous. I read through all 5 notebooks, checking my documentation. Dates, times, direct quotes from every conversation. Specific food code violations with statute numbers. Names of every family member involved. Constance Hartley, Roger Hartley, Faye Hartley-Dixon, Preston Hartley. Details about the IPO timing, the motive for silencing me, the systematic nature of their violations. Everything a prosecutor would need. Everything the health department would need for an emergency shutdown. Everything the FBI would need, because this wasn't just a state crime anymore. False imprisonment, conspiracy, obstruction of justice, federal charges, if I could get to the right people. I opened the last notebook to the final page and wrote, Day 242. Tomorrow, Maria brings the weekly linens. If she unlocks the door, I run. If she doesn't, I wait for another opportunity. But I won't wait much longer. They thought 8 months would break me. They thought isolation would make me compliant, would make me forget what I saw, would convince me I was wrong. They're wrong. I'm a health inspector. I don't forget. I document everything. And I'm about to file the most detailed report of my career. I lay down to sleep, my hand resting on the stack of notebooks. Tomorrow. One way or another, this ended tomorrow. Day 243, August 28th, 6 a.m. I was awake when I heard footsteps on the stairs. Maria's footsteps, light and quick, the sound I'd been listening for. The lock clicked. My heart hammered against my ribs. The door opened. Maria stood there, laundry basket in her hands, her face pale. The family left for a breakfast meeting downtown, she whispered. Some investor thing. You have maybe 90 minutes before they're back. I grabbed the 5 notebooks, held them against my chest. Thank you. I didn't see anything, she said, her voice shaking. I was never down here this morning. Do you understand? I understand. Go. I ran. The basement stairs felt impossible after 8 months of stillness. My legs shook, weak from limited movement. My lungs burned. But I didn't stop until I hit the front door. I'd thought about this moment for months. Wondered if it would be locked, if there would be alarms. But they'd been so confident in the basement lock, in the soundproofing, in their control. The front door opened. Outside. Fresh air. Sunlight so bright it hurt my eyes. I stood there for maybe 3 seconds, feeling the sun on my face for the first time in 243 days. Then I ran to my car, still in the driveway where I'd left it 8 months ago. Keys in my jacket pocket, exactly where they'd been the night they took me. The engine started on the first try. I drove. First stop, a gas station bathroom. I looked in the mirror for the first time in 8 months. Pale. Thinner. Dark circles under my eyes. But alive. Still alive. Still angry. Still determined. I pulled out my phone. Dead battery, of course. I bought a car charger, plugged it in, waited 5 minutes for enough power to make calls. First call, Marissa Chen, my colleague at the health department. She answered on the 3rd ring. Hello? Marissa, it's Jenna. Silence. Then, Jenna? Oh my God. Jenna, where have you been? We thought, everyone's been so worried. Your medical leave. Listen to me very carefully. I've been held prisoner for 8 months by the Hartley family to prevent me from reporting critical health code violations at their catering company. I need you to arrange an emergency inspection of Hartley & Sons. Today. Right now. This morning. Another silence. Longer this time. Jenna, are you serious? I have documentation. 5 notebooks. 243 pages of evidence. Food code violations. Witness testimony, dates, times, everything. They've been running unsafe operations for years. Cross-contamination, temperature abuse, sanitation failures. I need your team at their facility within the hour. Okay. Where are you right now? On my way to the office. I'm bringing the evidence. Send the team, Marissa. People could get sick. I'm on it. Jenna, I'm so glad you're okay. I'm not okay, but I will be. Second call. The investment bank handling the IPO. It took 4 transfers before I reached someone in compliance. This is Jenna Caldwell. I'm a New Jersey public health inspector, and I have urgent information about Hartley & Sons Catering that directly impacts the IPO you're managing. I'm sorry, but I don't think... The company has been systematically violating health codes for years. When I attempted to report these violations 8 months ago, they imprisoned me to silence me. I have detailed documentation. I'm filing FBI reports today, and the state health department is conducting an emergency inspection this morning. Your IPO is built on a company that's about to be shut down for public safety violations. The silence on the other end lasted 10 seconds. Could you send me that documentation? I'm driving to the health department now. I'll copy everything and email it within the hour. Check your inbox. I'll need to consult with legal. You do that, but I'm telling you right now, if you proceed with this IPO, you're going to be liable when the truth comes out, and it's coming out today. Third call. FBI field office in Newark. I'm reporting felony false imprisonment and criminal conspiracy to obstruct a federal investigation. The agent who took my call was professional, skeptical. Ma'am, false imprisonment is generally a state offense. I'm a state health inspector. They imprisoned me to prevent me from filing official reports. They used interstate communications to falsify my medical leave. The company operates across state lines. The IPO involves federal securities regulations. This is federal jurisdiction. Where are you now? Heading to the state health department. I have extensive documentation. Stay there. We'll send someone to take your statement. I hung up and drove faster. The health department parking lot looked exactly the same. 8 months, and nothing had changed. Except me. Everything about me had changed. I walked in wearing the same clothes I'd been taken in, wrinkled, slept in for months, carrying 5 notebooks like they were the most precious things in the world. Which they were. Marissa met me at the door. Her eyes went wide when she saw me. Oh my God, Jenna. The inspection team? Already on their way to Hartley & Sons. Jenna, you look. I need to copy these notebooks. All 5. I need copies for the health department, the FBI, and the investment bank. Can you help me? Of course. Come on. We spent the next hour at the copy machine, duplicating every page. 243 days, 612 pages total. Every violation, every conversation, every threat. My supervisor, Michael, came down from his office. Jenna, we were told you were on medical leave for mental health issues. I know. It was a lie. They locked me in a basement to keep me from reporting health violations. His face went pale. They what? I witnessed serious food code violations at an event they catered 8 months ago. When I told them I was reporting it, they drugged me and imprisoned me. I've been in their basement since December 17th. Jesus Christ! Jenna, we need to... I've already called the FBI. They're sending someone. But first, I need to know what your inspection team finds at Hartley & Sons. My phone rang. Marissa. She was still at the facility. Jenna, this is worse than you described. Tell me. Every refrigeration unit is running 3 to 5 degrees too warm. Some up to 7 degrees. We found evidence of rodent activity in the dry storage areas that's been ongoing for months, maybe years. Cross-contamination is systematic. They're using the same cutting boards for raw proteins and ready-to-eat foods. No proper sanitation protocols, no temperature logs, nothing. What's your recommendation? Immediate closure. We're issuing an emergency shutdown order right now. This place is a disaster waiting to happen. I closed my eyes. Vindication felt like hot metal in my chest. Thank you, Marissa. Roger Hartley is here. He's threatening lawyers, saying this is harassment, that you're mentally unstable. Jenna, he's saying you've been in treatment for severe psychiatric issues. Let him say whatever he wants. I have documentation, 243 days of it. I hung up and immediately called the investment bank compliance officer. This is Jenna Caldwell. The state health department just shut down Hartley & Sons for critical safety violations. Emergency closure, effective immediately. I'm emailing you the documentation now. I received your previous email. I've been reviewing it. Ms. Caldwell, if what you're saying is true, it's all true, every word. And it's all documented. Hold, please. I was on hold for 3 minutes. When he came back, his voice was different, formal, distant. Ms. Caldwell, I've consulted with our legal team and the managing partners. Given the regulatory actions being taken against Hartley & Sons and the serious allegations you've made, we're postponing the IPO indefinitely, pending resolution of these matters. $75 million. Gone. Thank you for your due diligence, I said. I hung up and allowed myself 1 moment, just one, to feel it. Victory. Justice. Vindication. Then my phone started ringing. Preston. I let it go to voicemail. He called again. Again, I let it go. On the 3rd call, I answered. Jenna, please, you have to stop this. You're destroying everything. The health department, the IPO. Please, we can work this out. No, we can't. I love you. I'm sorry for everything, but I love you. And we can fix this if you just... You locked me in a basement for 8 months, Preston. You told my employer I was mentally ill. You participated in a conspiracy to obstruct justice. You chose your family's money over your wife's freedom. I was trying to protect you. From what? From doing my job? From telling the truth? From ruining your life? From making yourself a target? Jenna, please, I'm begging you. I hung up. He called back immediately. I blocked the number. The FBI arrived an hour later. 2 agents, professional and thorough. They took my statement, photographed the notebooks, asked detailed questions about dates and times and who had said what. Ms. Caldwell, we're going to need to see the location where you were held. The Hartley estate. The basement has been converted into a cell. Soundproof. Barred window. Lock on the outside. We'll get a warrant. How long will that take? For something like this? Hours, not days. They were as good as their word. By 6 p.m., the news had broken. Philadelphia Inquirer. High-end caterer shuttered after whistleblower reports 8-month imprisonment. New York Times. New Jersey family business accused of kidnapping health inspector to hide violations. Local news trucks were parked outside the Hartley estate by 7 p.m. By 8 p.m., the FBI had executed their search warrant. They found the basement cell exactly as I described it. The twin bed. The table and chair bolted to the floor. The barred window. The lock on the outside of the door? Physical evidence that corroborated every word I'd written. By 9 p.m., all 4 of them had been arrested. Constance Hartley, Roger Hartley, Faye Hartley Dixon, Preston Hartley. Bail was set at $500,000 each. Money they suddenly didn't have, with the company accounts frozen and the IPO canceled. They stayed in jail. I went home. To my new apartment, 1 bedroom, affordable on my salary, no one's basement underneath. Day 260. September 15th. The day they'd promised to let me go. The day they were supposed to become millionaires. Instead, I was back at my desk at the health department, my inspector's badge clipped to my collar, exactly where it had always belonged. The same desk I'd left 8 months ago. Same computer, same files, same stack of inspection reports waiting to be reviewed. But everything was different. Everyone knew my name now. Everyone knew what I'd done, what had been done to me. Marissa stopped by with coffee. How does it feel to be back? I looked around the office. The fluorescent lights, the filing cabinets, the posters about proper hand-washing techniques. This was my place. This was where I belonged. Like I never left, I said, and meant it. My lawyer called that afternoon. The prosecutor's office is moving forward with charges. False imprisonment, conspiracy, obstruction of justice. They're looking at serious time if convicted. Good. Preston's attorney has been trying to reach out. He wants to discuss the possibility of reconciliation, of you perhaps not testifying. File the divorce papers today and add a restraining order. You're certain? Completely certain. That evening, I sat in my apartment and thought about what I'd learned. Not just about the Hartley family, but about myself, about integrity, and what it costs. About standing alone when everyone else tells you to sit down. About documenting the truth when people try to bury it. This story teaches us something important about personal boundaries and professional ethics. When someone asks you to compromise your integrity just this once, that's never the end. It's always the beginning of something worse. They thought 8 months would break me. Instead, it gave me time. Time to remember every violation. Time to document every threat. Time to build a case that couldn't be dismissed as emotion or confusion. Your integrity isn't negotiable. Not for family. Not for love. Not for $75 million. And if someone tries to silence you, for any reason, document everything. Written evidence speaks louder than any threat. I'm a health inspector. I protect people. That's not a job I can turn off, because it's inconvenient for someone I love. If you've ever been in a situation where you had to choose between doing the right thing and keeping the peace, I want to hear about it. Drop your story in the comments. And if this resonated with you, leave a red heart. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe. There are more stories like this one, and I'll be here to tell them. The city lights blurred through my window, then steadied. I picked up my badge, ran my thumb over the embossed seal. Tomorrow, I had 3 restaurant inspections scheduled. Someone had to make sure people's food was safe. That someone was me. I was home.